Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cisco Virtual Kitchen, the McCain Show. No S today, no McCain's. I always mess that up. But today is the McCain Show, and we are celebrating Women's History Month with these two incredible leaders in the industry. Laurie Nikkel, CEO of Second Harvest, speaker, advisor for food loss and waste and perishable food recovery. You're also the top 25 women in influence for Canadian Policy Advisory Council. Or you're a rock star. You're huge.
I'm really not. I'm just one person having a lot
You're
of
huge. And then we have Kerry Hunnius. I want to say that right? Okay, good. Vice President, North America Business Transformation and Sustainability for McCain Foods. Kerry, you're also huge and a rock star in our industry. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So this is amazing today, and I apologize. We couldn't find a lady host for our show today, but I thought, you know what? I need to learn more about women in food service and women in food more and more. So I got these great questions McCain sent me and your team sent me, and I want to talk a little bit about this. And it's a great time to celebrate women in history in our industry and in food. And I think it's really cool because I have a daughter. I have an 18-year-old daughter, just turned 18, and I see the future with her in food as well. And the great idea she does with marketing already as a young adult. And I really want to learn more about it. So I'm happy to host this today. So thank you so much. And thanks for just being on the show today. This is exciting.
Thank you very much.
So let's get right into this. Let's talk about both your experiences right now. Who wants to start? Laurie?
Sure.
Here we go.
My experience in what specifically, Jay? Just in life as a woman?
No, well, I don't know if we have that much time because I'm sure your history is pretty crazy. I did a little creeping, so got an incredible background. But let's talk a little bit about your relationship in the food and industry and what you're doing at Second Harvest.
Sure. So I've been in the food industry my whole life. Started off working in the back of a kitchen and promoted to waitressing and bartending. I've been doing food service since I was 14. But I did join the charitable food sector about 20 odd years ago as a low-income single parent, and I had to feed my own children. And that has been a trajectory of ensuring that people could access really good, healthy food. And today I'm looking at it holistically and systematically on why do we have all this surplus, extra unsold food in global food systems, and how do we make sure that that food gets to charities and nonprofits?
How big is that? Like we talk about food that doesn't get used.
It's enormous. In Canada alone, it's 58% of all the food that is produced for Canadians, and that includes imports. 58% is lost or wasted.
I'm in awe right now with that. So you really help get that to people that need it. Is that right?
Absolutely. So also in Canada, we have about 61,000 charities and nonprofits supporting people with food. And so we really are that one-stop shop of connecting and collaborating with all of those organizations, all kinds of food industry, to make sure that none of this food goes into landfill, where it's a direct contributor to the climate crisis, because in landfill, it creates methane gas. And we really have to get on top of that quickly. We are in a climate crisis, and this is one really pretty simple way of managing food loss and waste, and a great social outcome.
Yeah, it's an overall win for everyone, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So I got tons of questions on this because I've done a lot of stuff in this space, in a sense, with Chef Jagger in Toronto, where he feeds so many people using products that would just go to land waste as well. So I got a lot of questions on this later. So let's go over to Carrie here quick. Carrie.
Good morning.
Let's share a little bit about your history and what you've got to where you are today.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I too started out in food at a very, very young age. So when I was growing up, we had a bakery in our family. And so I watched my grandmother, my grandfather have an industrial bakery in the city of Chicago. And my passion for food started from day one. I have an engineering degree in food and process engineering for many years ago. And I spent about a little over 20 years in the alcohol industry across a variety of platforms. And then most recently coming to McCain. I've spent a lot of time across all aspects of our supply chain and how we make food more efficiently and really reduce waste throughout our process, so that as mentioned before, we don't want to waste our natural resources, and it's really important to me.
You know what's awesome is that I hear more and more companies like yourself with McCain is really stepping up and being more conscious, like we are here at Cisco, is more conscious about how much products that we're throwing out or just wasting in a way. Really incredible.
It really is, and I think the my generation and then future generations, they recognize the need to make sure that not only are we eliminating food waste and we're feeding people who don't have access to food, but it's also we have limited resources on the earth, and it's how do we actually utilize everything that we can in the most efficient way possible. And I'm seeing that as generations to come, they learn more about recycling at an earlier age, and it becomes a way of life versus something that's a learned habit.
Yeah, and I think our generation we've had to kind of similar to the internet, let's say, bad example, I don't know, but we've kind of had to learn to adapt opposed to our children have just lived with it, right? So they don't know what it is like not to recycle, right? Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about, the association of what you both do and really around Women's History Month. So what has, and I've got a question here, what progress have you seen on gender equality in life and work in both your spaces? Laurie?
Well, I mean, I come from an interesting space in terms that I work in the charitable sector, which is comprised of about 85% women already.
Cool.
So we're already starting off in a different spot, although often you see charities and nonprofits and they're looked at as undervalued organizations. They don't carry the same weight as a corporate entity. So I'm definitely seeing that change, that people are seeing the importance of social justice and environmental justice in a whole different way. But also even the tables we sit at, when working with industry in the nonprofit sector, there are still patriarchal systems here. And so I am actually seeing more women in leadership roles and more women just speaking out and not biting their tongue as much and getting rid of that imposter syndrome and going for it. So it's a nice, we're getting there. We're not there, but we're getting there.
I have to just comment on that too, because I have seen, and I've been, like I said earlier, we were talking earlier about my 18 years with Cisco just happened 2 days ago. And I have seen a transformation in our company to having a ton of an amazing leadership of women in our organization. Like it was all guys before. I'm not kidding you. It was all guys. And we are seeing that shift. And I tell you, we are a better company because of that. And it is exciting to work with women every day in leadership roles. It's incredible. I've seen the transformation from our side immensely. What about you, Carrie, on the McCain side?
Yeah, I'll take you back a bit away. So from day one, when I graduated, I was in a male-dominated industry. I worked night shift at a brewery for part of early in my career, and I was young and feisty, but I had to be in order to hold my own. But I set that tone early. But what I've really seen since that day from today is the journey we've been on. And it was really first around how do we make sure when men come to the table, they respect women and they listen to women. But we're also working on how do we empower women. So it's a two-way street. We're working on it from both ends to make sure that women know they have a seat at the table, that they have a voice, that they have an opinion, that they can drive a business and they can be strong leaders. But it's also being open to accepting diversity at the table when we're having the conversations. And that's the biggest thing I've seen is we've tried to attack it from one side over the last 25 years, but what it really is, we have to go after it holistically.
Yeah. And I think doing talks like today with both of you, I think this inspires those generations that are ahead, they're coming up into this space or into business. And so thank you for doing that, first of all, because it's important. I want my daughter to see this, right? Like my daughter, she sees these things and she goes, well, you know what? It's, she's starting to see it differently, but just having people and leaders like yourselves, you really are, you paved the road. And hopefully we see more and more of this as we move forward. It's incredible. So thank you both for doing what you do. We need more of that. And I do see it in my own company. I do see it every day. It's very exciting. So I have a couple of questions here. So let's go. Maybe we'll start with Carrie on this one. What are you doing? What's McCain's doing personally right now, to promote women in McCain's right now?
Yeah, we actually have quite a few programs, and we first kicked off what originally was like a diversity and inclusion agenda, which is now diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we did this back in 2016. And we've launched quite a few programs since then that I'm personally involved with. So we do one thing called coaching circles, and we read a book called The Confidence Code. And we spend 7 months in a book club with about 8 women across McCain. And the idea is to pay it forward. So I've actually did the first one in 2016, and I've led about 10 or 12 since then. But the idea is we talk about women's confidence, and it's not a checklist of how do you become more confident at work. It's more about tools, a variety of tools that really women can embrace of how they show up differently, still staying true to who they are. The bigger thing for me is not just the book, it's the conversations that we have with the women. So for me personally, I've probably met with 80 to 90 women over the course of the last 6 years. But if you imagine that, the number of women who've also done it, you pay it forward, and we're hitting every woman we can globally to really help drive confidence in women at work. And that just opens up the conversation to bring new ideas and really change our perspective.
That's awesome. Like I was saying earlier, I've just finished a book on leadership, and they also mention in there they talk about like having a beer after work with employees. It's not about the beer. It's about getting together. It's like, sometimes it's not about the book even. It's about just getting together and being a part of a team and a culture. That's awesome.
And one of the things we learn is women in the book, they talk about this. Women always feel like they're the only ones, and so they internalize it. And being able to talk about it, very quickly you realize that women all around are going through very similar things that you're going through. And so just being able to talk about it and take something that's been built up so big in your head and really make it fixable or approachable has been huge for many women across McCain.
You know what's interesting also, and I'm sorry to ask so many questions on this, but is from a guy's perspective, I don't think we knew this. I don't think guys know, and I've had this in a few meetings with Cisco and some of these diversity meetings that we have. We have a diversity inclusion show. We may have to change the title. But from my perspective as a male in this industry, I never knew there was that. I'm blind to it. I'll be honest, of the challenges that women go through.
It's interesting because the book is really about nature versus nurture and the impact of how women are wired differently to begin with, but then it's their experiences through life and that wiring. And they talk a lot about how women tend to have a ton more confidence up until puberty, honestly, and then things change. And so how do you actually start to address this earlier so that the confidence doesn't waver as girls grow up into women? So it's a really interesting book, and it's really the dialogue that goes with it.
Very interesting. Laurie, what about you?
Oh, I wholeheartly agree with everything that's being said. A lot of it is talking and empowering women. I think what we find is we want to promote women, but we want women to promote themselves a lot more. If you've got a job application and women find that they have to tick off every box, and it's encouraging them to say, no, you don't actually. You're good enough. You'll learn it. Fake it till you make it. You're okay. Yeah. But that's something that is a total culture shift. And that's, based on a culture of, there's a patriarchal culture in the globe. So getting out under that is really important, but also financially, I think, is something that we're doing at Second Harvest, because we are the charitable sector. Women are typically underpaid in this sector, but we're trying to level this all up, right? Like there has to be financial, economic empowerment for women. So they find themselves in positions because they feel that's all they can do. And those positions are often the lowest paid ones. So we want to make sure that we're providing the benefit, of course. Yeah. A lot of our frontline, not our frontline staff, but frontline staff in general, like you go to a restaurant, there's a lot of waitresses there. I mean, there's waiters too now, that's changing, but frontline staff, lower paying jobs are often held by women for a number of reasons. Part of it is that they're also the primary caregivers. And so they have to have jobs that have flexible hours. So we want to make sure that we do that at Second Harvest. Flexibility is part of what we offer. It's not about sitting in a chair from 9 till 5. It's about get the work done when you need to get it done. And as COVID, we all know there's a lot of parents that were at home, and some of them were doing their work at 11 o'clock at night, which is not something we encourage. But then they came to us and said, but this, if I can carve out an hour here, then I don't have to carve out 3 there. So just even understanding the dynamics in the household and supporting that and having people talk about it. And employee engagement is critical for us, right? Like sending out these surveys and hearing from the staff of what is it that you need. We want to be here to help you get to where you need to be. Providing coaching, providing training, mentorship, and just ongoing encouragement is critical for, I mean, all employees, but women typically undervalue themselves. And so we got to make sure that they value themselves. They belong here. They have a seat at the table.
You know, like even the leaders that I have, and all my bosses are women, and they're incredible. But they've changed our culture in a sense on that kind of thing, like you were saying earlier there, Laurie, about the hours. Like if you like, I had a day off the other day, and I did not get an email or a call from them. And that now, like, and that's the way they understand that. Like, I need that break, and they make it happen. And I'm just so grateful for them. And it's they're more sensitive, I think, and more understanding than maybe guys are, right? Like, I don't know if that's a difference, and I don't need all the guys texting me now or emailing me, but I just feel that difference, and I just loved it. It was incredible. It was one of the few days I've had off, and I didn't get bugged from my leadership, and it was incredible. It's unbelievable. So what we're going to do is we're going to break for a quick commercial, and then we're going to come back, and then I got some more questions for both of you, separate ones, and then we'll wrap up. But thanks again for being on today's show. Awesome. Welcome everyone back to Cisco's Virtual Kitchen. Today we're celebrating Women's History Month. And I got two amazing ladies on the show today, and we're really talking about more women in the workplace. And I've got some amazing questions here that McCain's has sent me today. And I'm just pickled. I'm learning so much as well. So anyways, questions for Carrie. That's what they said. Questions for Carrie here. And this is a good one. This is a great question. Thank you, whoever put these together. But McCain recently changed their purpose to celebrating real connections through delicious planet-friendly food. What is this? What is this, Carrie? You got to tell me more about this, because I love this already.
So planet-friendly food means that we just use less resources, and it's all the way from farm to fork. So it's around how do we make sure we have the right agricultural system set up so that we use the least amount of resources to grow potatoes. It's all the way through our manufacturing sites using the how do we recycle water? How do we reduce our water usage, reduce our energy usage? And then how we transport our product into our customers through packaging, through the ingredients we use. And then it's our food waste, making sure that every bit of food we produce gets utilized. And so we're looking at sustainability, and we've tagged it as planet friendly because it drives a very clear message that it's not just about recycling. It's more than that. It's actually how do you reduce the amount of resources from day one. It's
like the days of when we used to say I had to go on a diet, and now we just eat better is all you have to do, right?
Right, so, exactly.
Kind of thing.
It's reframing your thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes you think about it too, right? So another question for you, Carrie. So we know that your partner is with Second Harvest. So why did you choose Second Harvest as a partner right now too?
For us, it was a really obvious answer. So they are a global thought leader on food recovery. And they're our partner of choice as we tackle this food waste and food insecurity in Canada. We've already talked about it today. They have innovation. They use a food rescue app, and it's been a game changer for us, so that we can donate our surplus food into communities that need it. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is we also have another pillar under our Planet Friendly, which is called Thriving Communities. And how do we actually have a positive impact in the communities which we operate? And Second Harvest has been a great partner in that for us.
Wow, that's incredible. So I got to ask Laurie about this food app. This food rescue app. This sounds really cool. Can you tell us more, Laurie, about that app?
Sure, but first I'll start with saying, oh my gosh, we're so lucky and we're so happy to be partners with McCain. You have no idea. Like it's been incredible, this partnership. So Second Harvest pre-COVID was a bricks and mortar. We had a fleet and warehouse and we were transporting food. And then just pre-COVID, we created something called the Food Rescue app, which I refer to as the eHarmony of food, because really it's just a connector of great food with communities and charities that need food in their local community. And so really what it allows us to do is provide that support everywhere that it's needed, because there's businesses everywhere across the country and there's charities and nonprofits that are using food everywhere across the country. So what it allows us to do is not just connect them, but it connects us with the right organizations, making sure that they have food safety compliance when working with temperature controlled food, for example. It shows us the number of meals, the categories of food. It provides information like the greenhouse gases that you've averted by. I know, it is the coolest system.
So cool.
And it's technology, right? So it's an app and it's also on web-based so that you can use it on your computer or on your phone or any way that you need to. But really it is a simple way to connect communities directly with food businesses.
And they can get that anywhere?
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yep. Download it at the Google Store or iTunes, or go to secondharvest.ca, Food Rescue, and you will see the system. You'd have to register as a food business. But there's always a charity that needs your surplus food.
So how many restaurants right now would you say that are on that? And how many would you like to see on that, other than all of them? But is there a goal?
I would like to see all of them on it, because all of them have some kind of surplus food. Even if it's a small amount, it's helpful. In Canada, though, the uptake for restaurants has been a little slower as a result of COVID, because our restaurant industry kind of shut down. So there are probably over 1,000 on it right now.
Okay.
But there's definitely room to grow.
Well, I think after today's show, we'll put it up on our site and stuff, and we'll put it on the links, and then we'll help you promote it out to all of our customers in our industry.
Thank you.
And we also do as well, because I think that's brilliant. I think every restaurant needs it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I always think about that, because I've worked in the industry a long time and I've been in the restaurants, and the amount of food that gets wasted in kitchens is enormous what gets wasted, right? And that's incredible. It's so cool. Now, is there anything else you want to share just within the pandemic, because this has been a massive that has affected Second Harvest activities right now?
Oh, absolutely. At the beginning of the pandemic, we just shut down as a country. And so we created something called the Food Rescue Canadian Alliance, which included industry and charity and Indigenous communities and government to ensure that we could capture as much surplus food, because, Canada's only got 38 million people. So it's comparatively small to the US, but 6.7 million Canadians are accessing food through some kind of food charity now. So that's a pretty high percentage.
That's a huge number.
Right? And with food inflation happening right now, it's needed more now than ever. And again, it's about those healthy quality food products like the potatoes and the produce and meat and dairy. They're just critical. So we're working across the country. We're huge in land mass. So that's a whole third-party logistics, getting to our remote north, across the south through our apps, through our third-party logistics. We've grown and we continue to expand to try and meet the need, because the need is enormous.
It is. And I'm with you. I don't think it's going to go down. Have you ever seen, and let's throw this out there, and this might be a goofy question. Have you ever seen it get better on the demand for food? Like for people in Canada, it's not getting better, right? It's getting worse.
It's not getting better. And COVID definitely made it worse. But I think what it really did was it shone a light on a really huge existing problem of food insecurity across our country. And, the middle class leaving and the poor getting poorer and the rich getting richer. And so we're all seeing this, and we know we need policy interventions to fix this. But in the meantime, let's make sure that we can provide food to those families that need it.
That's huge. And I just love it, because I like I said, I don't think it's getting better. It's getting worse. And all these different things are happening in the world today. I do believe we're going to see some more concerns in this space. And I'm just baffled, this working for a company I get to work to, and just seeing all the food that's out there, that we still have people that have to rely on this. It's absolutely incredible. We should. I don't think we should have to, unfortunately, but
No, we
amazing
shouldn't.
organization.
Actually,
We should.
everybody should have enough money in their
Yeah.
pocket or in their
Yeah.
purse that they can go to the grocery store and
Yeah.
get and purchase the food that they need.
Healthy
And
food too, right? Laurie? Like,
absolutely.
is that a
It's
perception that you can't eat healthy? Like
Well,
on like
it's-
like
it's factual
yeah,
perception.
yeah.
I mean, the most inexpensive food is not the healthiest food.
Mhm.
And when you have a family and you want to get some perishable food, you need to make sure that they're going to eat it when you're on
Yeah.
a very small budget. So it sounds silly to some people, but buying broccoli, for example, is a risk, because if you're not sure your kids are going to eat it, you're not going to spend money on that. You're going to buy something that you know they'll eat, and that will not necessarily be the healthiest food.
You know what's fixed a lot of that is an air fryer. So right.
I love my air fryer.
I was
Sure.
gonna say we all love our air fryers, right? We all love broccoli in the air fryers, right? But I like it. Funny as it is, it has saved a lot of like the vegetables and produce that I've had. It goes in the air fryer. We the kids do consume it then, right? So very cool, very cool. The one other question I have this one for Carrie is, okay, there's a program here and it's put onto my list of questions for you. You got to tell me more about this exciting program called CHIPS.
Yeah, so our chips in. So as part of our Thriving Communities pillar, we have put it out to our employees that we want them to volunteer. So they can take a full day off of work in the office and go volunteer in our communities.
What?
Yeah, isn't that awesome? And it's global.
That's so cool.
And they can go, we have manufacturing sites all over the world, and they can go into their community and find ways to do it. We're working on how do we make this a team building event so we can pull teams together, and actually how do we drive engagement with our employees, but also, improve the working lives of our communities. We're aiming for 4,000 hours this year of volunteering in fiscal 22, and that will go up over time as we get these programs off the ground. But it's fun. I got to tell you, it's fun.
Well, no, it's just, that's incredible. First of all, and I'm not just saying that. I just like, that is so cool, because a lot of companies will just throw money out there, but you're actually putting boots on the ground and getting out there and doing something, right? That's huge. Incredible.
Yeah. And to build on that, one of the other things we're doing is in each of our sites in our North American business, so each of our manufacturing sites and our corporate offices, they all have community development projects in addition to their volunteering hours. And so they're given funding to go do something in their environment, whether that's building or working on a local food garden, a food plot for the community, whether it's working with the local schools to help paint or do something just to drive engagement in the community. Many of our plants are located in rural areas, and so it's just important, where we might be the only employer, that we make an impact, a positive impact in that community.
Whew. Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. I love it. I love innovation ideas like that. Incredible. So an app that blew my mind away. CHIPS program blows my mind away. Unbelievable. So thank you again for both of you being on the show today and just sharing these amazing things you're doing as women leaders in food. It's incredible. I'm blown away. Blown away. Last question for both of you. So as we wrap up today's show, and today's International Women's Day, it was on Tuesday, and today we're celebrating Women's History Month, what's your last message you'd like to send out there today? Your last International Women's Day message. Not last, I guess. Last question for today. But what would that question be?
First, I'd like to thank McCain and Carrie, because you guys are awesome, and everything that you're doing is really impacting communities in Canada. And Second Harvest could not be prouder to partner. My last message for Women's Day is there is a lot to celebrate. There really is. We've come a long way, but we need to continue to raise our voices, and we need to protest the fact that people are being oppressed and that people are treated differently based on their gender. So as good as it's getting, we're still not there. And so together we can get there, but we have to keep pushing.
That's awesome. Carrie?
And Laurie, the feeling is mutual. You guys are a great partner, and we're very grateful to have this partnership with you. For me, my final message for women out there is, the International Women's Day is break the bias. And I think Laurie mentioned it is, we continue to need to have voices. For me personally, one of the biggest differences that I've made and had impact is the passive voice is not enough. So when you see something, yes, you need to say something and you need to stop it, but it's also how can you get in the driver's seat and actually drive change. So aim high, push yourself outside your comfort zone and be a driver of change. And that's what for me has made a big difference. And I encourage all women to do that.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, both of you, thank you so much for driving, getting more women involved, being leaders out there that they, a lot of these young women that coming into the industry can look up to. And just thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks so much, Laurie. Carrie. Everyone else, we're back later tomorrow with our Influencer Fridays on our SVK Network. And then we're back next week with a ton more shows all week, Tuesday to Friday, with tons of different shows. Like I said, we're the only food service live weekly show in North America right now. I think we will be for a while. But thanks so much. And tune in and follow us and subscribe also to the SVK Network on all Cisco Canada social channels. And thanks again, ladies. Have a great rest of your day.